Undertale community. I tried to make this first video months ago, but I suppose the emotions were too raw for me. Of course, too raw for me. Because I can't see evidence of, you know, emotions about myself from your community. And you have good reason to feel them because, well, let's see. My best friend worked on the team, number one. Number two, I'm making an artistic setting called the Underrealm. And I've been working on this since 2006. It is a Catholic setting of interstellar monsters who infest universes like God's universe and also alien universes. It's very cool and cosmic. Yeah. Interesting that I've been working on this for all this time, but people didn't want to hear about it because, well, it's bad news for people who don't believe in Catholicism because, working on my project is basically an always available preview of what heaven will be like for me. It's a nice preview, gotta say. So anyway, let's go back to the issue, which is, let's see. When you feel emotions, there's a lot of factors involved. I'm a type of person who is very empathic, and so I'm always looking at people's emotions. I couldn't really do this well when I was young because there were all these, Protestant women policing people's emotions. Like, oh, why didn't you react that way? Oh, why would you laugh at that? And that just kind of developed into wokeness, all the, outraged women. Yeah. But I actually care about emotions. This is basically a spiritual difference. I believe in God. I actually care. Those women, they don't believe in God, so they don't actually care because, you got to put God first when you're thinking about, emotions or whatever. And so, the emotions of the Undertale community and other communities have been, modulated and processed by things like therapy and pharmaceutical drugs and also LGBTQ, community interactions where they, feel their genders and they have their, sexual escapades and all that. So, the term goon, goon face, because there was this artist drawing Jesus, this LGBTQ artist, and I looked at the reply section, and another thing Protestant women always love to say. This was probably their favorite line: "Don't judge." But I can judge. I can judge this, this Wolfie artist. Wolfie. I can judge him. Why? Because I saw Undertale fans making fun of me in the reply section, like taking the Catholicism out of, the presence of my setting, the Underrealm in Undertale. And that's sort of psychological gooning, which connects to sexual gooning. Yeah, I have this whole psychology stuff I'm working on to like destroy LGBTQ forever and enjoy all that heavenly glory. It's so good. Yeah. Ow. Dude, you hurt my neck. Yeah, my neck's a little sensitive, which is why I'm not making too many drawings. Anyway, that's my monster. Interesting. It's my dog character. It's my dog. He lives. He's me, but also something that cannot be described or intellectually understood. At least not now. So, okay. So, me as a person, I relate to monsters. I just do. I mean, because of the life decisions I made, I am now forever associated with monsters. And that is reflected in having monstrous aspects to my personality and other aspects of myself. I don't care if people get offended or yell, because would a monster get offended or yell? The psychology of my monster media is the same as my psychology when I respond to people yelling and getting outraged and stuff, because it is my psychology. Of course, there's a lot of people these days who can't really act on their own psychology properly. They act on group psychology, like LGBTQ, or just conforming with whatever the norm of your social media community is, or whatever. You know. So, yeah, gotta scroll that down. I just feel as if, number one, if somebody inspires your favorite game, which is the basis of all these fan projects, maybe you should have some kind of emotional reaction to me showing up. But your community has intentionally deadened that, so yeah. Of course, my move was to bombard them with unfortunate information, to torment their emotions, to force them to react. Yeah. So, yeah. So, of course, if people can't react when I show up, then they will not react when I post my work. My work, me, we just flow together. We are the same. And that inspires resentment, because so many people these days are conformists, they have group identities, and they participate in collectives. They don't have individual creativity like myself. People like Undertale fans would performatively do things like show me they searched for my monsters and couldn't find information about them, to express that they didn't want to learn from my work from myself. They wanted to learn from my work from the media, the social media and the other media. It's pathetic, like a cockroach. I mean, if you're going to contest somebody who likes to think of himself as a monster, yeah, I'm going to tell you that the kind of monster you are is a cockroach. And they do qualify, but they're nasty. And so, such abusive behavior towards myself has obstructed, my finances. I have family, I have friends, I know girls. I am working on my life after all the damage done to me by people like LGBTQ Undertale fans. And if I say Undertale without acknowledging Deltarune, it's because Deltarune is not fully real to me. Nothing is fully real to me except some of my personal stuff and what was going on with me back in 2014. Because things were going great for me, but of course it was extremely tenuous, because Satan and the rest of the forces of evil, they were, gatekeeping me. You can't have this unless you, sin. That was the temptation. And, I didn't have problems with people. I was an easygoing guy. But if you want me to affirm LGBTQ feminism, no. And doubly no, because as a Catholic, my creativity is getting drawn on for things like Undertale. So, if the LGBTQ community and related communities like, Marxism, if they want to come in and say Undertale is, ours now, then I'm out of there. And when you see things like how long Deltarune took to, be made, guess what's a big reason? Because I was gone. There was this whole gap after Undertale, and then the chapters started getting released, and it took a while. I was gone. For the past few years, I've been doing my initiative, which is supposed to initialize what I was working on as a young adult, as a teenager, which was this teenage Catholic revolution for friendship and creativity, which would create spiritual change, like revitalizing Black culture to expose all the cool stuff, like the heavenly purpose of gangsters, because gangsters can actually be, cleaned up to have a heavenly purpose, but we wouldn't want to be gangsters normally in this world, but in heaven, gangsters can be normal. And so that's why, the mob is associated with Italy, which is the epicenter of, Catholicism. Yeah. And so that was what I was working on. And so you Undertale fans have been missing out because you were not willing to accept my Catholic creativity and others like your Protestant parents. And rest assured that if you do things like be nasty to me, you're doing what your Protestant forefathers want. Because my creativity, it destroys the Protestant world. It's very monstrous, you see. It destroys that world, and just like my latest webcomic page I haven't posted yet, just destroys it. Yeah. It's very cool. Because when you're on God's side, you can be cool. And when you're not, you can be told that you're lame. That you spend a lot of your time as a community seeking to oppress my creativity and my finances and those associated with me. Because I have friends, I've seen them clear up some mental issues they had, like suicidal ideation. Ones like that. And things improve for them. But not for you. Hey, kitty kitty. Oh. We even ran out of food for my kitties a couple times. And actually, I'm currently out of money. So isn't that nice? And I was drawing cartoons. And they were all fancy. There were these digital paintings of cartoons, and guess what? People didn't give me money, so I stopped making them. No, I did not keep posting them, trying to get a few scraps of money. And meanwhile, people are taking advantage of what I'm posting when they do things like go in and laugh at me and insult my work without even clicking on it. Because they ingest my inspiration in the process, the ones who abuse me, and also the silent ones. Yeah, I see the silent ones. They're people like, just people not relevant, but there's a lot of fakes around me, and they know they're fake because what I did as a teenager was really big. So, yeah, that's something down here. The story of the animation industry. Very nice. Yeah, that tells the story I was just referring to. So they look at my drawings and they take inspiration And then maybe a little later, they give me a few bucks, like, I don't know, a few $100 a month, something. But no, I just cut that off. I stopped making the paintings. And that caused them mental damage because they started to take advantage of my drawings. And then I just stopped making them. And so that tormented like the nervous system of the animation community. And they started screaming and thrashing, and eventually they just kind of broke alongside other things I'm doing to break them. And so there's a nice glimpse into the psychology of a monster. I live like a monster as a human in real life. I do monstrous things. I have my special consciousness which senses things and intends things and interacts with people in monstrous ways. So, yeah. You kind of miss the whole point of Undertale while you're having LGBTQ, pleasure trains cycling it around with each other, telling each other, oh, this is about my insanely high amount of prominence in society being celebrated and applauded everywhere in a world I've never even seen, because I just stayed at home like a hermit, and I didn't want to see all that audacity of sinners to take advantage of my work in that way and flip their middle fingers to me. I mean, when people go thrashing around, coming to me on the internet, aggressively attacking me, that must have congealed from years and years of trying to flip me the finger as their societal oppressor. But I was nowhere to be found, so they tried to get those middle fingers in front of my face, and then I told them, I'm just a random poor person who believes in Jesus. I can't believe that things you have imagined about me. But let's change the subject to other people who imagine things about me, because the creator of Ava's Demon and Muffet created a drawing aesthetic that I had previously only saw in spiritual visions. So Michelle, it's real weird that the Undertale community has basically nothing to say about her. If she, contributes a popular character and participates, is also an exceptional artist. Well, gee whiz, maybe you should acknowledge her as part of your community culture, but you don't. So you don't need to look at me, you can just look at her. Of course, that little factoid gives her a reason to be spooked. Yeah, my latest page directly references Ava's Demon, and guess what? I just paused updating it, and I started working on an illustrated ebook instead, because I just like to think about, Michelle. And so I basically just paused my webcomic to get lost in thought of Michelle. That's something I've done a lot, because that's what I spent, my 20s doing. In my 20s, I didn't see people. I was abused by my grandmother. I just kind of languished around, having spiritual visions and fantasies and listening to some rap music and playing Dota 2. And that was basically it. So it's pretty hard for me to get engaged with living life normally when, for, a decade, I was just thinking about girls. And of course, your community lashes out at me because they don't want me to be engaged with real life. Which really says a lot, about the wrongs they've done to me. So they lash out, they insult my work, they refuse to read it because they don't want me to be a part of real life. And how absurd is that? I mean, what kind of life do you have here? It's missing the whole point. Undertale was released on 9/15. My birth number associated is 9, and that of my best friend who worked on Undertale is 15. And on her DeviantArt profile, there was, her last interaction was with myself, saying that if she didn't release something good, saying that if I didn't give her a gift of, sometimes I kind of spaz out like that because, I'm basically merged with her, we're basically the same person, kind of. It's like what Jesus says. But instead of marriage, it's friendship. That's quite a nice innovation, yeah. So anyway, she was saying that if I didn't have some great art, then her birthday would be worthless. And so nobody said anything about this. People just ignored it, even though it's likely that thousands of Homestuck people saw this interaction on her profile. And they pretend like they didn't know about her, even though, yeah. And after that, I tried to, make her artwork that would satisfy her expectations, but it was very difficult because, let's see, I don't know, people are tearing down everything I was doing. So, yeah, they were infesting the social justice stuff. They were infesting, they were disassociating things I was contributing to only relate to themselves and create massive mental illness in the process. So, yeah. And so, basically, Undertale is that gift I was trying to achieve, created by Toby Fox as a symbolic event. And when I say this, I note that the creator of Homestuck, which Toby Fox worked on beforehand, Andrew Hussey, he had this page of his webcomic where, my best friend, she made a painting, and basically he made a big deal of displaying that his fan base did not have emotional reactions to the concept of myself and her reuniting, which was basically public humiliation of her, because basically he was running a plantation and she was the house slave and I was the runaway field slave. So, yeah. You've sure got some shitty history as Undertale fans. And that's why you pretend like you don't know. You know. You've always known. It's throughout your consciousness. It's throughout your memes. It's throughout your personalities. It's throughout your interactions with others. But you keep it queer. What queer means is avoiding knowledge. And queer is defiance towards God, who is the truth. He's wisdom. They reject it. They be queer. But they still know who God is. Just so, you still know what happened. You just do your best to avoid acknowledging it and having emotions and all that. But there's no way for you not to know. Just like, people like Amber, there's very little chance that they're going to be saved. Just totally contemptible and totally unrepentant. So, there's a lot of people in the world walking around who know full well that they're probably going to hell when they die. And they pretend they don't know that. And there's also people walking around who both themselves and others can be pretty sure are going to heaven. Like myself and my best friend and Michelle and various other people in this history who I like. And so there's this new status quo which I am, as a divine instrument I am forming, where people recognize that there are likely elect and likely damned, and also some individuals who are basically guaranteed to be either one. Like I would be guaranteed to be elect, and Andrew, well, if Andrew was saved, he would be basically unrecognizable as the man he is. So he's pretty much guaranteed to be damned. So, yeah. There's this whole spiritual event associated with my creativity. And that's nice. I think that's just how life should work. That's the world I thought I lived in as a teenager. But I went online, out of my mom's house. My Catholic mom. And my Catholic mom abused all her life by her Protestant mother. So she inspired me to fight back. So I just went around looking, and it was like everybody was these stupid kids, and the way they enjoyed things was just stupid, and not the way where you study millions of books and have a really smart brain. They were just missing the whole point. They were missing the whole point of Kingdom Hearts. There's this whole narrative about light and dark. I didn't actually play Kingdom Hearts, but I could look at Kingdom Hearts and I knew what it was about, which is, this sort of shadow war between light and darkness within cartoons and stuff. Yeah. So I acted on, my smart grasp of artwork, and I put together my Underrealm, and people started freaking out, spazzing out, trying to condemn me, trying to tear me down, and well, guess what? Because that happened, I earned the right to be, actually have real monsters for eternity. So, yeah. Because I chose to overturn Protestant America to be its monster, and so now that's who I am. So, acknowledge real history, acknowledge the real meaning of artwork, acknowledge that I am working on my Underrealm, acknowledge that Undertale was inspired by it, acknowledge that my best friend worked on it, acknowledge that you have oppressed my life systemically to prevent me from having money and to harm people close to me, to push them to suicide or just complete destitution, because you participate in very evil cultures. And that doesn't mean that you can't disassociate from those evil cultures, but you have to actually choose to do that instead of say, oh, I don't know, what are you talking about, I don't know, I'm not going to look at your work, I don't know, because you're a spastic zoomer. who has your brain fried by algorithms and memes. And you chose to do that. I chose to do what it takes to be the person I now am. So get over the envy, the anger, the jealousy. I already said that. The pride, the lust, the laziness, and all that. And just acknowledge that I'm standing here on the internet. Hello.